Hi, thanks for joining me today. My name is Logan Tellis, and I'm one of the transportation planners for the city of Eugene. I'm here to talk to you a bit about the Division Avenue Roundabouts project that we're working on. For anyone who doesn't know, Division Avenue is a roadway that extends between River Road and Beltline Highway. Our project is really focused more on the commercial portion of Division Avenue, which stretches between River Road and around Lone Oak. We have unfortunately had some significant challenges with fatal and serious injury crashes on this portion of Division Avenue. We know of at least 9 fatal and serious injury crashes here, which is quite a high number for such a short segment of roadway, and also a high number for a community of our size. Difficulty finding safe gaps in traffic as drivers turn onto and off of Division Avenue has been a really significant contributing factor in this crash history, and we'd love to be able to address that with a safety project. Additionally, the city has concerns about high vehicle speeds, as speed is one of the primary determining factors in how severe crashes are when they do occur. This is because faster moving vehicles generate more force in crashes and thus increase the risk of death or injury when crashes do occur. I also want to acknowledge that currently people biking are not well separated from people driving on Division Avenue. There are existing bike lanes on Division, but we recognize that these aren't comfortable for everyone. They do put people biking in fairly close proximity to high speed and high volume traffic. And lastly, I want to mention that people do often have difficulty crossing Division Avenue on foot and on bike. Let's move into talking about some of the key benefits of roundabouts. First and foremost, I want to point out that roundabouts come with fewer conflict points than other types of intersections. So a single lane roundabout, like the ones proposed for Division Avenue, have just 8 potential conflict points for vehicles to come into contact with other vehicles versus the 32 plus conflict points associated with a traditional 4-leg intersection that might be managed by something like stop signs or a traffic signal. Additionally, roundabouts are great for reducing speeds. As we mentioned on that last slide, speed is a really significant factor in the likelihood of someone being injured or killed in a traffic crash. So bringing down speed on Division Avenue is certainly of interest. As vehicles approach the roundabout and make that sort of circulatory turn movement around the roundabout, that certainly is helpful for reducing speeds. And this last benefit on the slide is not safety oriented, but I'll mention it because it's often surprising to folks. In many cases, roundabouts actually improve traffic flow in an area. This is because roundabouts manage the intersection without the need to wait at something like a traffic signal or a stop sign. So that's another interesting benefit associated with roundabouts as well. I want to move into talking about some of the modeling that was specifically done for this project. We hired a consulting firm to help with safety analysis and operational analysis for the project. The safety analysis they performed, and this slide is looking over the long-term 20-year timeline, found that they're estimating an approximate reduction of 39% in all crash types at the intersections where roundabouts are introduced, with the most significant impact being on crashes that involve fatalities and injuries. So the safety analysis is estimating a 78% reduction in fatal and injury crashes at the locations that are receiving roundabouts. And the consulting firm used a Federal Highway Administration developed methodology called the SPICE tool, in case anyone's interested. Let's flip over to talk about the operational analysis. This slide is once again looking at that longer term 20-year timeline. And as you can see, as we compare the 2 roundabout scenario versus the no build scenario, which would be us leaving Division Avenue as it is today, the operational analysis is showing better level of service outcomes and better delay outcomes under the 2 roundabout scenario. So I know this chart is a lot to look at. Let's walk through it together. Starting with that level of service column. For anyone who doesn't know, level of service can roughly be thought of as a report card for grading how well traffic flows through an intersection, with A being the highest grade an intersection can receive, and F being the lowest grade that an intersection can receive. And so we can see over this 20-year timeline, if the city of Eugene doesn't build anything at these 3 locations, we're projecting an F level of service all through the project area at the locations included in the analysis. Under the 2 roundabout scenario, you can see the 20-year projected outcome would be 2 Bs and an A at these intersections. So that's certainly a significant improvement over the no-build scenario for level of service over the 20-year timeline. Moving over to the next 2 columns, we can look at some information about delay that the operational analysis produced. So this would be sort of average delay across all of the turn movements and through movements that could be made at any given intersection. And you can see that the operational analysis is estimating an 80 to 89% reduction in delay associated with the 2 roundabout scenario at the intersections included in the analysis. So that's certainly a sizable reduction. I want to move on to talk quickly about the conceptual design options that our consulting firm helped us with. There are 2 of them for me to show you. They do look fairly similar, so I'm gonna try to walk you through the differences as best I can. So one of the key differences between the 2 conceptual design drawings that you're going to be shown is how bikes would utilize Division Avenue. So option 1, which is displayed on the screen, is using a wide shared use path area to support bikes on the corridor. So off to the sort of right bottom corner, you can see that existing 2-way bike lane on Division Avenue that's to the east, more on the residential portion of Division Avenue, would be routed up onto this wide shared use path area. And then bikes would travel along that shared use path behind the curb. It's sort of a wide, almost sidewalk looking area that's wide enough to support people both walking and biking. And as a cyclist moves along the corridor, if they needed to transition to the south side, they could do so at any of the marked crossings that are shown across Division Avenue. Another key difference between the 2 design options is how access is managed at that center intersection that is between the 2 roundabouts. So what's drawn here is a bit different than what exists today. That green area that you can see on the screen is a raised median, presumably a landscape median. So the driveways at this center intersection under this scenario would be under a right turn in, right turn out restriction. So you could make right turns in, you can make right turns out, but you couldn't make the left turn movements there that you make today currently. Flipping over to design option 2, some of the key differences that we talked about on the first slide, bike facilities are handled differently between the 2 design options. So design option 2 is displaying bikes using a buffered bike lane versus a shared use path. So the buffered bike lane would be an on-street bike lane that includes painted buffer space that provides a bit more physical separation between people biking and people driving, spatial separation. And then as people on bikes advance towards the roundabout, as they come close to the roundabout, you can see in the drawing, there are ramps that would route them up onto a wide sidewalk area. And then the intention would be for bikes to circulate through the roundabouts more like a pedestrian would versus as a car would. As I mentioned before, a key difference between the 2 design options is how turn access is managed at the middle intersection between the roundabouts. And as you can see here, the drawing is showing a left turn pocket that would preserve the ability for people to make left turns up into that center intersection sort of by the furniture store, if you can visualize where that is. So that is an option that's drawn in there right now. The two conceptual design options that you're being shown in many ways are similar. So we've talked about the differences. I'll talk a bit about the similarities. They obviously both include two single lane roundabouts drawn in the same locations. They're the same diameters between the two design options. Another important similarity between the two design options is they both display a lot more marked crossings on Division Avenue than are currently out there. The cost estimating documents for the project are currently making the assumption that we would have these marked crosswalks that go across Division Avenue itself raised. So raise it up a short amount, maybe as much as 3 inches high, to help encourage drivers to slow down before they enter the crosswalk space, before they enter the roundabout, just to help improve yield compliance a bit more for both people crossing and yield compliance as people enter the roundabout. And with that, I suppose I'll conclude my brief presentation. We hope to hear feedback from you. Please consider commenting on our Engage Eugene webpage. There's going to be an option on there for submitting comments. You're welcome to send emails as well. Call the Public Works Engineering number to provide comments. And we look forward to hearing from you. Thanks.